Ducks fans, are you ready? You are listening to the Ducks and Pucks podcast with your hosts, Mike Walters and Eddie Jones. This is the #1 home for Anaheim Ducks talk and analysis. Here we go.
All right, welcome back to our show. We had a week off, and we're going to get you caught up on the last 2 weeks. Not a lot of information going on, but Eddie and I will get you up to date on some of the stuff that happened. There was the Fedoran Cup that I was able to go to with one of our writers, Phil, and had a good time. I'll talk about that a little bit. We have an update on Hagelin's contract, some more of the third jersey news that's been out there, and also some updates around the NHL on some key players and signings and suspensions that have been going on. First off, we'll start back. The Fedoran Cup that I went to was a really good event. It was an extremely hot day, Eddie, and my wife and I were able to go hang out, beforehand. And then when everybody went inside, obviously at Anaheim Ice, the ice was perfect. Nice and cool in there. It was a good day to go to a hockey rink. I know a lot of people go to the mall or go to the movies for the summertime, but it was a good game. A lot of fun. You had Team Canada, Team USA. They dueled it out to a 6-6 tie. Then they went to a shootout, and Team USA won 7-6. It was a fun event all around, Eddie, and it's just a good thing to raise a lot of money for cancer.
Yeah, I know we had Phil Hewlett on to talk about it and what a great cause it was. And a lot of people showed up. I believe Fredrik Andersen was there too, and a lot of players showed up. And what I've heard from you and some other people around, a lot of people showed up, and it was a great game.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun, and you're right. Anderson was in goal for part of the game. Getzlaf was out there, Stoner, Botnin, they all played. So it was good to see some of them, and then a mixture of some other players out there as well. Also want to give my little stick tap to off-ice hockey. Saw those guys there, some very cool guys. I ended up getting one of their shirts, and they appreciated us giving them a shout-out before. So, trying to work with them and do some stuff. I don't know what's going to happen down the road, but at least trying to support each other, which is important for, fellow T-shirt companies or blogs, Eddie, that are out there doing hockey stuff.
Yeah, it's always nice to, meet up with those guys. And obviously you have a little more of an opportunity to go and meet them up at games and everything. But when you can work with other blogs, it's always nice.
Yeah, we're just going to keep building, the networks that we can with everybody else and keep doing what we're doing. And, it's been pretty good. And that was a pretty fun game, getting excited, getting things going. The preseason's around the corner here, Eddie. We've got the Ducks rookies are going to be playing in San Jose on September 12th and 13th. So they're going to have some games up there. And then later in September, the preseason will get started for the actual Ducks team.
Yep, they'll be playing Colorado on the 22nd is when it starts. Then they've got a back-to-back. They got LA at home on Friday the 25th, and then they go down to play San Jose on the 26th. LA on the 29th on the road. And then the last two games at home, Colorado on the 1st of October, and San Jose closes out in Anaheim on the 3rd. And that paves the way for the season to start on the 10th in San Jose.
Yeah, exactly. And if you followed on our Facebook page, facebook.com/DucksNPucks blog, we gave away tickets to the preseason game against Colorado. I won't be at that one, so we gave away our tickets, and we're also going to give away the tickets, I believe, against the San Jose Sharks as well. So look for that. It's going to be up on the website this week. Just go on there and follow all the rules as usual, like we've done with the shirts, and you get a chance to get some tickets to that game. Some other news that came out today, Eddie, some people went on NHL Shop today, and it looks like the Ducks' third jersey was leaked on the website. It's not actually the regular NHL Shop. It's the NHL Shop International website. So the third jersey, not officially confirmed, but, since it's coming from the NHL, it looks like, it's a pretty good source. Any thoughts on this jersey? If it's the legit one, if you like it or dislike it, or anything, Eddie?
Well, this is the second time that it's leaked, and obviously Aesthetics leaked it back. I believe it was almost a month ago now where they leaked it originally, and they also leaked the Colorado one. And you go on that website now, and you can see both of them, and they're pretty much exactly the same as they were there. And this time though, we get to actually see it as a picture of the jersey, so it's a little bit more concrete. But I would assume this is a jersey that's going to come out. I mean, we were pretty certain before that this would be the jersey, barring a couple of changes. And I mean, all we're waiting for now is the Ducks confirmation to say that this is the jersey. I'm not sure if they'll do it before the time that they had, previously stated. But I mean, I like it. It kind of combines, the three jerseys they've had: the Mighty Ducks, obviously with the logo, the Stadium Series with the orange, and then the original '06, '07. The orange and black jerseys with the sleeves. So it kind of combines all three of those jerseys in one. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I think the logo, it takes some getting used to seeing the Mighty Ducks logo on orange.
Yeah, I agree, and I mean that's something that I had talked to the marketing people about before, was doing an orange jersey and more of a retro style, which they wouldn't give me confirmation of, obviously, because they're not allowed to do that. But that was kind of what I had pushed for before. I'm kind of in the same boat that you are. I like the orange. The retro logo is good as well. I'm not too big on the sleeves and the striping. I mean, it's not bad. I just I think it's okay. I think maybe it could have been a little bit better. But I'm glad that they did the orange, because as we talked about last year in the playoffs, it was hard getting everybody pumped up to wear orange jerseys, because there was only the stadium jerseys that people had available to them, and I understand not everybody had those jerseys, because it was a one-time event, and those jerseys were obviously marked up because of that event. And I'm just glad to see that there'll be something that again, if confirmed, it will be orange, that in the playoffs we can get hopefully most of the Honda Center filled in orange, like when we go visit other teams like Calgary, and you see all the red, Eddie.
Yeah, exactly. And when we went to Winnipeg in the playoffs, and the whole building, maybe except for like one or two people, was all white. And we were calling to see that in Anaheim, and they were giving out T-shirts and everything too, but it wasn't exactly the same. And now that people can buy this jersey all year long, and it appeals to the whole fan base with the retro logo, I think you'll see a lot more people wearing this jersey come the playoffs.
Yeah, I agree. More affordable. It's gonna, at least from what the price we saw was 136 on the website, so it's better than the 200 plus that the stadium jersey was. And obviously it's going to be out there in October, and it's not just going to be the one-time event. So definitely have a chance to buy it and wear it. Hopefully, for a while. Hopefully the Ducks. I like what they've done with the Web D, and I just teams like to change jerseys and logos up every so often. And I hope the Ducks kind of stick with this setup, Eddie. I like how the white and black, home away jerseys in this third jersey are now, and I hope they just keep it that way for some years to come.
Yeah, it gives you some more variety. We got the black and white obviously before, and having the orange, and I believe they're wearing it for at least 15 games this season. We'll get to see, a good variety of different jerseys throughout the season, which will be a nice change.
Yeah, exactly, and it should be good. And there's a lot of other updates that are going on at Honda Center as well. The scoreboard, a little bit of an update for you there. I know some photos also got posted on social media about the scoreboard, the way it looked. Now it's completed in terms, I can tell you, of the actual screens and the box. It's it's a big, large, basically black box right now that's above the ice. If you've seen some of the photos, which I'm not allowed to post at this time, but if you look at it and you've seen it, it's not quite done yet. They've still got to get all the paneling up on there, and they've got to test it out. But from what I've heard from people that have been there and seen it, it's really it's massive. It looks really good. As we talked about, the screens facing the goal are going to be 20 by 20 approximately feet, and then the benches and the press box side, it's going to be 20 by about 30, 31 feet. So it's going to be really good, Eddie. I mean, it's going to be huge. It's going to be able to show multiple screens at once. You're going to be able to see a replay of a play on the big screen and at the same time have something else behind it. So it's just a lot of variety that they can do with the scoreboard, and it's about time, so it's a good update.
Yeah, no, from the pictures I've seen, it's looked really nice, and then obviously with them putting out the some of the pictures from the new center ice design and everything in this offseason, it's kind of fed us a little bit of hockey news, something that hasn't really been a lot of recently. Obviously with the jersey coming out today, there's a little bit more to talk about, but it's nice of them to continuously update us, little by little of what's going on in the Honda Center.
And some more updates that came out too. We talked about the metal detectors already. That's coming for not just the hockey games, but for everything as well. They redid the boards. They sent out some photos on the Ducks official Twitter. If you've seen them, they're redoing those. They're redoing the glass as well. The glass, I'm told, is not necessarily going to be seamless, but it's going to be a lot smoother, and it's going to have the stanchions are going to blend in more, so they're going to look better. So that's going to be another added addition to the inside, and that's going to help it out. So it's going to look good. There's going to be some improvements coming. They also sent out some photos of the ice. If you saw it, they have the red line, and on there, it's not just a solid red line, but it has the Ducks Web D on there. So it looks, little patterns of the Web D across it, so it looks really good. And they're also upgrading Phil Hewitt's area. We had talked about his press box. So a lot of improvements, Eddie, a lot of new things that are going to come this season, and it's going to look good.
Yeah, for sure. Just the little improvements, you're not going to notice them too much, but as long with as well as the team improving, the arena's improving too at the same time.
As far as team news, there wasn't really a lot that happened recently, but we did get a little bit of an update on Carl Hagelin. We found out that he has a no-trade clause added into his contract, and it will be starting the second year of his contract through his third and fourth years. And basically what's going to happen, Eddie, is July 1st next year, 2016, he will be able to pick 8 teams that he does not want to go to. And then subsequent Julys, he can modify that or keep that the same. So that's just a little bit of an update that we got on Hagelin, Eddie.
Yeah, and also along with that, back on September 1st, Andy Strickland was tweeted out saying that the Anaheim and Ricardo Keller talking contract extension likely in 2 to 3 year range. That was about a week ago now. Haven't heard too much news on that, but that was something he put out there a while. So likely that the Ducks and Raquel are talking a contract extension.
Yeah, which would make sense. And we talked about the lines too, Eddie, on the third and fourth line, which we've got some fan questions about some of this stuff, and we'll go into a little bit more later in the show. But it wouldn't surprise me, Eddie. I think it's a smart move to give Raquel an extension.
Yeah, and we talked about how we'll have to see where he plays this season. A lot of people like to see him play on the wing, and it remains to be seen if the organization thinks he's cut out to be a center in the NHL, and we'll probably see a little bit of that in preseason, and then from the first game on, from the start of the season, we'll see where they prefer to play him.
Yeah, and around the NHL, we have a little bit of news before we get our fan questions. The latest one was on Patrick Kane, Eddie. It doesn't look good for Kane. What's the latest going on with his case?
It looks like his case is going to a grand jury on Tuesday. That's according to ABC Eyewitness News in Chicago. It looks like the prosecutors seem to have enough evidence put against him to charge him in the sexual assault case. So it doesn't look good for him right now. We'll have to wait till later in the week to see how it goes. But this is going to be a unique situation in how the NHL will deal with it if he is actually charged and found guilty of the crime. If he'll be traded or he'll be banned from playing in the NHL, or to see how it works out, it's going to be a really unique situation.
Yeah, in this situation, it's kind of similar, to the Buenoff situation with the Kings. He had his whole issue go down. And then recently for him, he ended up getting deported by ICE, the Immigration and Customs Enforcement here in the United States. So I don't know. I mean, obviously he's not going to have Patrick Kane, that isn't going to have immigration issues like Buenoff, of course. But I'm just talking about in terms of, having an issue with a female. Obviously Buenoff was married, Kane is not. But I don't know if he's going to be banned or suspended without pay, and then another team picks him up. Voinov was suspended without pay, so it's just going to be interesting, Eddie, to see if he is guilty, how the NHL is going to treat it and how it's going to affect the Chicago Blackhawks.
Yeah, it's something new to hockey, this situation. You've seen it in some other sports, and primarily football. You've seen it happen, and how they've handled it, and it's happened in basketball in the past, and players have still gone on to play their whole career. And I honestly don't think, unless he's charged and found guilty, that anything will happen to him. But it's something you really can't look to the past and compare it to a different situation. It's something entirely new, and we'll have to see how it plays out.
Yeah, I agree, and I think the overriding theme of this too is it's just unfortunate. We try to be neutral about a lot of the topics we talk about, but if you like Patrick Kane or you hate Patrick Kane, it doesn't really matter, because either way, Eddie, this affects the NHL, and it affects the NHL in a negative light. As you mentioned, we've seen stuff in other sports, whether it's been football or basketball or baseball, when they had all the performance-enhancing drugs and stuff like that and whatnot. Not necessarily the same topic, but we've seen all these other issues come up in these other sports, and now we've seen it come up in the NHL recently. Also with a few other Kings players, as you know, Stoll and Richards as well, with their drug issues too. So it's just unfortunate. Whether you root for that team or that player, or against that team or that player, it just brings the sport negative attention. I just hope it gets resolved, and we just focus on hockey in October.
Yeah, but you hope it gets resolved fairly too. I mean, you don't want to see a guy who is guilty, and just because of his name and his status in his sport, get off of serving a jail time for a crime, or paying his dues just because of the guy who he is. And I'm sure if he's guilty, he'll end up being charged, and we'll have to see what happens.
Yeah, I completely agree, Eddie, with everything you said. The other update around the league is what's going on with Stamkos in Tampa Bay, Eddie. There's been some rumblings over there in terms of his contract.
Yeah, obviously he's probably the biggest name that is slated to be UFA come July 1st next year. And there's not too much news. It's just obviously he hasn't signed a contract extension yet, and that puts a lot of people in a good situation to write about it, and they'll get a lot of views, obviously, because it's Steven Stamkos. But Elliot Friedman put out an article on Sportsnet today about how the Lightning are preparing for all Stamkos possibilities. And the Yzerman said that a while ago that getting Stamkos signed to an extension was their number one priority, and we still haven't seen that happen yet. And I think we'd all be surprised if Stamkos come July 1st was not a Tampa Bay Lightning player, but but you would usually like to see these things resolved by the start of the season, and it doesn't look like that's going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think it is going to happen. It's just going to probably take part of the season to get played before anything else really goes on with that. I think it's kind of up in the air situation. I like Tampa Bay. I like Stamkos. I hope it gets worked out, but I think we're just gonna have to wait and see, Eddie.
Yeah, and you would expect them to do everything they can to keep hold of such a key player, and one of the top 5 players in the league. But there seems to be a lot of underlying issues, resulting from him not signing his contract yet. They want him to play right wing. He wants to play center. Obviously the fee is going to be upwards of around $10.5 million, near where Taves and Kane deal are right now, and they got to look to the future for other guys to sign. So we talked about how Silfverberg and Hagelin's deals took longer to get done this summer, and I think this is another one that will take a long time to get done, because there's so many other things they have to think of before just signing him to a contract.
Well, yeah, too, and even the goalie situation, it looks like Bishop's going to be the guy there, which is good for my fantasy team, Eddie. I don't know if we told everybody, but we had a fantasy league that we set up last week. It's all the Ducks and Pucks staff. Some people have asked about fantasy leagues. We may or may not have another one for just whoever else wants to join. I'm not sure yet. I have to get enough interest, but we have one set up now, and I have Bishop as my goalie, so this is going to be good for me, selfishly. But yeah, I hope that he doesn't get tired out too. Going down the stretch, leaning on him too much because I mean he's primarily the guy there for Tampa Bay, Eddie.
Yeah, and especially with Vasilevsky now being out for 2 to 3 months, they're going to really have to ride Bishop for probably 60 games this season, which is I don't believe is something he hasn't done, consistently throughout his whole career. So this is going to be a big season for him to step up and carry that team.
And moving along, we have a bunch of fan questions again this week, Eddie, and we'll go through a few of them here. We've got one from Felix. He talks about the Ducks players, and he wants to know who we would predict as the three X factors on the team, and plus maybe the most surprising player, either positive or negative for the team. So I'll let you go with your three you think, and we'll see if we have something similar.
Well, I think if you're gonna have to pick X factors, I mean, guys who are gonna be the quality players on the team, you really have to go with Perry and Getzlaf. I mean, if you're not gonna pick guys who are gonna surprise and do well, I think Perry and Getzlaf are gonna be two guys that have to carry the team throughout the season. And if you're gonna, there's a lot of other guys you could pick for third guy after that, but I think more importantly, it has to be Frederik Andersen in goal. He has to be have another great season. Obviously, Anton Khudobin and John Gibson are right behind him, but I mean, another good season from him is going to be important to contract discussions next year, and I think he'll be motivated.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely Corey Perry and Getzlaf for sure. Two obviously players that are going to be huge X factors. I think the other one is going to be Hagelin. It's going to be interesting to see. We had the poll question up there if you thought he'd be on the first line or the second line, and I can't remember the percentages right now, but I know a majority of people thought he would be on the second line with Kessler and Silverberg. So I think Hagelin's another big one, and Silverberg too. And I think both of them. Some people I've seen on social media give a little flack to Silverberg because he doesn't score as much during the regular season. He gets plenty of assists, and he's awesome in the shootouts. Which obviously with the new rules now, there's going to be less shootouts because it's going to have 3-on-3 hockey added to the overtime, so we won't see as much of his skill in the shootout. But I think it was evident though the season Silverberg wasn't with Kessler the whole season, and we saw him with Kessler for a majority of the playoffs, and he took off. So I really expect if Hagelin, Silverberg, and Kessler on that second line, I really would watch Hagelin and Silverberg and see how well that they do, because Kessler elevated the play of Bolesky, and he elevated the play of Silverberg down the stretch, Eddie, and I think that's going to be huge.
Yeah, and if you're gonna talk about a guy who could have a surprising in a positive way, I think even in a negative way too, I think Sekac really has a lot of question marks going into this season if he's gonna step up and possibly be a top six player for most of the season, or if he's just going to regress and be that third or fourth line left wing. I mean, there's a lot of question marks around his play. I'm sure we'll see him start probably on that third line or fourth line, but I mean, there's a lot of potential for this guy, and I know we could see some really good things from him this season.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Sekac is, in terms of the lines, whether he's on first, second, third, or fourth, I mean, he's one of those guys that could be on any of the lines. I mean, it's hard to say. We've talked about this before. If Maroon stays on the top line and Hagelin on the second line, then we would see most likely Sekac on the third or fourth line. But you never know. They could take Sekac and throw him on the first line. Maybe they want more speed with the Twins instead. Put Maroon back down on the fourth line, which they've done before, and maybe have him with Horkoff or Santarelli paired up with Jackman, and have it be a grinding checking fourth line. That's another option. So I think the biggest thing we're going to see is a lot of options, a lot of line changing in the first couple months, which is going to drive me nuts with the game previews, trying to get you guys the lineups and stuff. It's going to be hard because I'm going to have to just really be on it, and we may not know till the actual game on some of these lineups, Eddie. I mean, it's going to be kind of crazy in October and November, also with Thompson out.
Yeah, and but that's always the situation when Boudreau's in charge. You always see the lines get moved around, and I'm sure we'll see a little bit of it in preseason and switching up the lines and trying to find out what works. And hopefully with whatever they start on that first game of the season, they can stick with that for most of the year. Something we haven't seen them do that many times.
True, very true. Another question we have a couple here from Alexander. I'll take a couple of them. One of them he asked about if any of the Ducks players were changing numbers, and some of the specific ones were Raquel, Lindholm, and Vatanen. I haven't really heard anything, Eddie, about any number changes. I know a lot of people saw Hagelin playing in the charity game and saw the 62 and were a little confused, but that was before the season and the signing, so he will be 26. Wagner is still 62 is the latest that I've heard. I haven't heard anything change with that, but I haven't heard anything new with the existing Ducks players, the returning players, changing any numbers, Eddie.
No, and I'm sure we won't. Until further in the season, until next year. I think most of the numbers are set. Obviously, with Hagelin and Stewart, and getting their numbers. There's nothing to really, look over for now. I mean, when other players get called up from the AHL, when that happens, I'm sure their numbers will be revealed for what they will come up and be as call ups. But other than that, I think everything's set for now.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think there'll be any more new announcements, at least not until early in the season, as you had mentioned. Another question we had was from Adam. He asks about all the young Ducks defensive core, which we had an article about. Which one of them do you think will really burst out onto the scene and become known in the NHL this year, Eddie?
Oh, I think you have to go with Lindholm. I mean, obviously Vatanen is a great defender and he has a lot of potential too, but I think Lindholm is the guy who has the potential still to become a top two defenseman in the NHL, and this is really his season to prove that he can be at that elite level. If you're gonna look down at the lower level in the AHL and the prospects, I think Shea Theodore is a guy who could look to have a really good AHL season and get a couple call-ups, for injuries or for closer to the playoffs, and he could really show that he has that potential as well. But really, you have to go with Lindholm, I think.
Yeah, and Lindholm was who I went with on my fantasy team, Eddie. It was the only Duck player I got on my fantasy team. It was kind of tough this year. When you have a whole pool of 12 teams, we're all Ducks fans. It was pretty tough getting Ducks players. I was hoping to get one of the Twins or Kessler, but all you guys snatched them up. So I was happy to get Lindholm. But no, but on a serious note, yeah, Lindholm for sure. This is a guy that I talked about on another radio show. They had asked me, the guys on the Montreal show in Canada. We had talked during the season about Hampus Lindholm and how he's not as big of a name around the NHL. Obviously here, we all know who he is. He's one of the best, if not the best, defenseman the Ducks have. So I think he's the one that's going to bust out in the scene and do the best. And with the current team, obviously. And I agree with you. Shea Theodore would be the one that, maybe we see him get called up for a few games. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's going to be a real interesting season and seasons to come now that the goals are here. And they're so close. As we talked about before, Murray's going to be going to those practices during the week, and he's going to be shuffling teams up and down the I-5 freeway. So it's going to be interesting. We may see him in some of the games. I mean, we may not see him in any, but I wouldn't doubt it if we maybe saw him in a couple, Eddie.
Yeah, I'm sure you don't want to see any guys get injured, but I'm sure there's going to be some injuries this season, and he'll be right up there with Mets and others to get a call up if he's having a strong season in the AHL, which I expect him to have a good season down there in San Diego, and he's got a long way to fight through he's got to fight through some really established NHLers and some top prospects to get a call up, but I mean, if he doesn't get one during the beginning of the regular season through injury, there's a good chance he does closer to the playoffs.
And we had another question about the defense from Alexander again. He talks about the Ducks defense and how they seem to have a strong offensive game and transition game, but he wants to know how do they improve to avoid a letdown, defensively. And I think he's aiming at the playoffs basically.
Yeah, I think that all comes down to coaching, to be honest. I mean, obviously young defensemen like Lindholm and Vatanen will Vatanen. We've seen Lindholm improve season by season defensively, and how he's become a really good two-way defenseman, and Vatanen shown signs of that too, and bringing in Bieksa, that really helps the defensive side too, and Stoner will have another season where he'll be one of our key defensive guys, and Fowler is also looking to work into that two-way type of game, and I think losing Boschman is a little bit difficult, but I think with good coaching and some improvement from the young guys, I think definitely they can improve defensively this year.
Yeah, and you mentioned, Boschman being gone, which, that was one of the fan favorites, obviously, that was disappointing to see. But you do have Bieksa that comes in. He played several years at Vancouver with Kessler. So, I mean, I think he's going to pick it up and be a good fill-in spot. That's going to help out, bring the grit that the Ducks need on the defense. And, Stoner played well in the playoffs, too. He gets a lot of flack from people as well. But you know what? He actually played really well in the playoffs, and you have to give him some credit. So I think that those guys will be solid there. Also, Dupree, he played awesome as well defensively. So like you said, Fowler, Lindholm, the offensive guys, they're going to have to, step it up a little bit more. I think a lot of the players, including Vatanen too, in the playoffs, I think everybody did really, really well. It seemed like at the end of that Chicago series, I don't know if they got worn out from the overtime games or made some mental mistakes, but I think that's part of the deal with coaching, as you said, but also bringing in veteran players. And the Ducks have brought in veteran players, Bieksa on the defense, and a handful of guys on the offense. Obviously, Hagelin's played more years. You got Stewart that's been in there, Horkoff, Santorelli, all these guys that have played. So, and I know those guys are offense, and you're saying, well, they're not defense. True, but they're still there on the bench. They're still there in the locker room, and there's a lot more veteran presence. And I think that's one of the other problems that was missing for the team, and down the stretch in the playoffs, Eddie.
Yeah, for sure. And bringing all these guys, there's always questions if they're going to gel or not, and that will come. We'll have to see. Obviously early into the season is when we'll see that, and if they get off to a slow start, I'm sure we'll be quick to blame it on all the new moves and how the team chemistry is low. But there's still a lot of core guys here, and like you said, the leadership will help transition the new players in. So I'm sure we won't have a problem with that.
Yeah, that was another question that another fan brought to me is he's excited. It's actually a family member, but he's excited about the Ducks team this year and the moves, but he's kind of split 50-50. He feels like we got new players. He's excited. He wants to see the Ducks do well, but then he's also nervous because you get these new guys and you don't have chemistry. And it's a good debate, Eddie, because if you look at the bottom, two lines, it's going to be really interesting what's going to be down there. It's going to be, I mean, we know it's going to be mixed up in the beginning. I mean, everybody knows Boudreaux. We talked about that and beat that horse. But chemistry is definitely going to be key. And I'm really curious to see, once they figure out who's on the first line for sure, if it's still Maroon or someone else, how the dominoes are going to fall for the rest of the lines, Eddie.
Yeah, but it's not too much of a shock, to the lineup. I mean, on each line you've got pretty much two guys out of three that have played with each other for a full season. Obviously, Perry and Getzlaf on the first line. It depends on who plays on that left wing. If it's Maroon, then you've got a whole line that's played together, for almost a whole season. On that second line, if Hagelin gets put on there, Kessler and Silfverberg have already played well together for a whole season, and I don't think Hagelin will have any problems fitting on that line. And then you go down to the third and fourth line, and there's a couple new additions. Obviously, Stewart will be down there, and Horkoff will be there too, and Santorelli will be there. So I think there's a little bit more gelling to do down there. But I don't see it being an issue. A lot of these guys, even not playing on the same team, they know each other, and they're all there to play hockey, and their play styles are too different. So I don't think it is going to be too much of an issue with team chemistry. Barring a little bit of maybe a rough patch in the first few games of the season.
Yeah, exactly. The filling out process, especially in the month of October. I had one more question that I found on here from another fan, Tom. He threw out one, and this one goes. We mentioned about the overtime, the 3-on-3 that's going to come up, and he's curious about what tactics will the Ducks use. Do you think the Ducks will use two forwards and one defensive man, or two defensive men and a forward, or some other combination? What do you think? Obviously, we're going to see some 3-on-3. What do you think the Ducks will do in terms of throwing out three players for those 3-on-3 situations?
Yeah, obviously that all comes down to coaching. I think the safer option is to obviously go with two forwards and a defenseman. But if you're going to throw out some pretty quality defensive forwards, and it all comes down to matchups too. Depending on what the other team does, and the team you're playing and the quality of players on the other side. I could see them doing either or depending on the situation, but realistically, you would expect them to go with 2 forwards and 1 defenseman.
Yeah, I agree, and I'll get a little bit more specific on what I think. If I was the coach, armchair coach, for right now, I think I can give myself that name for now. But I think that it wouldn't be bad to go with pairing Getzlaf and maybe Lindholm as a setup, or maybe Kessler, Silverberg, or Kessler Hagelin, and maybe Bieksa, since Kessler and Bieksa know themselves well. Those may be a couple possibilities, Eddie. Like I said, I don't have any info, but just going by, if I was to throw some lines out there, that's a couple combinations that would be probably pretty good.
Yeah, for sure, and you would expect to see a lot of combinations, going through the lineup, and we'll just have to wait and see. Like I said before, we'll see a lot of it in preseason, and then come the season, we'll get a better idea.
That's going to do it for this week as far as all the questions and all the updates and everything. We'll be back most likely next week, hopefully, with more updates for you guys. If there's anything with the team, there may not be too much going on in the next week, but we'll talk about more fan questions if that's what's going to happen. We may also have some more writers on. I know some of the other guys want to come on. We may talk hockey. I know some of you like to hear a bunch of us on here kind of rambling. So we may do that as well. And we're doing giveaways. We're going to have another giveaway for, as we mentioned, the preseason game we're doing on the Facebook page. We're also going to give away 2 tickets to opening night on the podcast. We will start that contest next week. So you'll get to see the Ducks in action on their first home game in October. So that'll be coming up as well. And just stay up to date on all the news. Thank you for listening. Thank you for the support. And we're going to keep building more relationships, keep getting bigger, and keep going. And that's about it. And we'll see you in a week.